At long last, the first trailer for Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings is here. We still don't know much about the plot of this MCU movie, but one thing is clear. The movie is all about the dysfunctional relationship between Simu Liu's Shang-Chi and his father Tony Leung's Wenwu. Oh, and lots of punching. Let's take a closer look at this new footage and what it reveals about Wenwu and the other colorful villains in the first MCU martial arts movie. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings pays off on a loose end from Iron Man 3 and the short film All Hail the King. It turns out the MCU has a real version of the Mandarin, and it's not struggling actor Trevor Slattery or AIM founder Alger Killian. All Hail the King showed Slattery and Justin Hammer being kidnapped by the Ten Rings terrorist group, but we don't know if either character is appearing in this movie. Wenwu may be the real Mandarin and the true leader of the Ten Rings, but he's still a very different character from the comic book version. In the comics, Shang-Chi was originally depicted as the son of Fu Manchu, an evil genius and mystic created by novelist Sax Rohmer. Because Marvel no longer holds the rights to Fu Manchu, that origin story has had to be reworked. There's also the problem that both Fu Manchu and the Mandarin are considered very problematic by today's standards, as both are plagued by racial stereotypes and yellow peril tropes. With this movie, Marvel Studios has essentially combined both characters to create a new villain who has the Mandarin's 10 rings and is the father of Shang-Chi. I think people hear the Mandarin and expect a very specific kind of thing, and that may not be the thing they're getting, producer Jonathan Schwartz told Entertainment Weekly. They're hopefully getting a more complex and layered take on the character than that name would lead you to. We can see that these 10 rings are actually bands Wenwu wears on his forearms. Marvel may have felt that actual rings were too close in appearance to Thanos' Infinity Gauntlet, or this new look may give us a clue as to how Wenwu combines magic and martial arts to become the world's deadliest deadly fighter. So what are these legendary rings anyway? Well, in the comics, the rings are seemingly magical artifacts, with each one granting the Mandarin a different power to control over lightning, fire, and sound. One of them even allows Mandarin to remake matter itself. The rings aren't actually magical though, they're actually sentient pieces of an alien spacecraft that the Mandarin found and repurposed for his own ends. We don't know whether that backstory will be changed for the MCU, but this could be a way of tying Shang-Chi to cosmic franchises like Guardians of the Galaxy or Captain Marvel. However, it's possible the rings will have a more fantastical background in the MCU. We see a couple brief flashbacks to an ancient battle between the Mandarin and an enemy army, complete with creatures that may be literal dragons. Between that and a battle that's straight out of a Chinese wuxia movie, realism doesn't seem to be a huge concern for Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Wenwu is probably the main antagonist here, but he's definitely not the only villain. We see a quick glimpse of Florian Muntiano's Razor Fist. As if his name doesn't make it clear, Razor Fist is a deadly fighter whose hand has been replaced by a sword. That sword even seems to light up like a lightsaber. At the moment, we don't know whether Razor Fist is working for Wenwu or if he's part of another organization fighting against the Ten Rings. We also see a few shots of Fa Lo Chen's character, Shi-Yong Lee. As far as we know, Shi-Yong isn't based on an existing Marvel character. She's Wenwu's daughter and Shang-Chi's sister, and she doesn't seem very happy that her brother has spent the past 10 years living abroad and shirking his family duties. We assume Michelle Yeoh's character, Shi-Yong Nan, is her mother, but we'll have to wait and see exactly how Yeoh fits into this movie. The masked assassin is Death Dealer. Not to be confused with the Frank Frazetta character, Death Dealer is a skilled warrior and one of Shang-Chi's childhood tutors. In the comics, Death Dealer also works as Fu Manchu's mole inside England's MI6. This is the MCU, so we have to assume that mask is hiding a familiar face. Heck, maybe that's Awkwafina's Katie underneath the mask.
We make a good team!
And that's what we know about Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings so far. Do you think the Mandarin is the true villain of this movie, or is there another foe gearing up for the ultimate martial arts throwdown? Let us know what you think in the comments. For more on MCU deep dives, learn about the vile history behind former Captain America Isaiah Bradley, and learn about the old school MCU that time forgot. And for all things Marvel, stay tuned to IGN.